Hey guys, it's Angela, and today I'm going to be talking about how to cope with chronic illnesses and how to help others cope as well. So before getting into it, I do want to say a disclaimer that everything I talk about in this video is based on my own personal experiences. I haven't done any research or anything like that. This is all just based on me. And I hope that from this video, you are able to take something away to either help you in your own personal life being chronically ill, or to help you help others who are chronically ill in your life. So before I get into it, I feel like I should give a brief introduction. My name is Angela and I am 20 years old, and I was diagnosed 5 years ago with a chronic illness that has to do with my heart. And then over the past 5 years, I've also received several more diagnoses that have to do with my heart being chronically ill. So I think one of the biggest things when it comes to chronic illness, and one of the hardest things to do, is to accept the fact that you are chronically ill. But at the same time, it's also extremely important to accept this fact. And what I mean by that is, a few years ago, I would constantly compare my life now, being chronically ill, to what it was before. And I would always wish that it was the same as it was before. Doing that was not good for my mental health, and it didn't do anything for me. Constantly comparing my life to what it was before and what it is now, and wishing it were the same as it was before, didn't do anything for me, and it just made me feel worse about being chronically ill. So one of the hardest things to do when you are chronically ill is to accept the fact that this is your life now, and unfortunately there's nothing that you can really do about it. But at the same time, you still have a life to live, and you still have to move forward from here. It's okay to feel bad about yourself sometimes and to cry, because what you're going through sucks and you are completely entitled to feel that way. But constantly feeling bad about yourself and bad about your situation, which unfortunately you probably can't change, is extremely counterproductive and does nothing positive for you. You still have a life that you need to live, and you are not defined by your chronic illness. Your chronic illness is a part of you, but it is not who you are. You are way more than your chronic illness, and you have a life that you need to go and live. Sometimes you have to make changes in your life because of your chronic illness, and this can be extremely hard. These changes can be dietary, you may have to give up something you love. No matter what it is, it's hard. I had to completely change my major for my chronic illness. My dream was to be a nurse, and unfortunately that's something that I can't do anymore because of my chronic illness. I physically cannot be a nurse, and that was extremely hard, and I was definitely in denial about that. But some things you can't change, so the only thing for me to do about that situation was, yes, feel bad for a little bit, but also move forward. And that's something extremely important when you're chronically ill, that you are always moving forward. Sometimes your chronic illness can cause you to miss out on certain plans or events that you were really looking forward to, and this sucks. And in those situations, I think the best thing to do during that time where you can't be there is just to find a way to distract yourself. But at the same time, sometimes your chronic illness can make you miss out on things that you really didn't want to do in the first place, or sometimes it can keep you from doing things that you have to do, like chores. And in those moments, that's kind of cool. So I really tried to find the positive aspects of my chronic illness, and I think that that's something that's really important to do. Because we can spend a lot of time viewing our chronic illness negatively, because overall it does have a negative impact on our lives, but there are also some small positive things that we can pull from it. Like, for example, I get to sit at work. I'm a cashier and all the other people have to stand, but I get a stool to sit on. So that's cool, and that's something, and it's just the little things like that that sometimes help you to feel a little less bad about your situation. Speaking of the little things, I think it's extremely important to appreciate the little things when it comes to being chronically ill. And what I mean by this is appreciate a day where you didn't feel symptomatic, or maybe you did something that you thought you wouldn't be able to do. At the same time, when you have those really bad days, at the end of the day, you should be proud of yourself for getting through it and remaining strong. If you start to feel really sick and symptomatic at school or work, but you still manage to finish the day or finish the shift, you should be really proud of yourself for that. And I think that's extremely important that you become your biggest cheerleader. And by that, I mean recognizing that even though some things are really hard in the moment, you got through them and just remember how strong you are. Also, I find that when I'm really symptomatic, distractions really help. So, for me personally, when I am symptomatic, it can last for hours at a time and will leave me basically in bed. So, during that time, I like to do things that I enjoy, such as reading, listening to audiobooks, watching YouTube videos, movies, TV shows, talking to friends. Just incorporating positive things that will get my mind off the current situation has been really helpful for me. Having a chronic illness can be extremely isolating, especially if you don't really know anyone in your life who suffers from the same illness. So, for this, I found that going on Facebook and looking for support groups for people who have the same chronic illness has been extremely helpful. I have found so many different groups of people who suffer from the same heart problems that I do, and within those groups on Facebook, I've found people my age, and it just really made me feel a lot less alone. Also, if you have a friend in your life who is also chronically ill, they can be a really good support system for you too. Because even though you suffer from different chronic illnesses, at the end of the day, you deal with a lot of the same emotional and mental impact that a chronic illness has. So having someone in your life who is chronically ill to lean on can be extremely helpful. And I've been lucky enough that my best friend is actually chronically ill as well, and we kind of got diagnosed at the same time, and we're just constantly going through our journeys together, and it's just really great. So I definitely recommend seeking out a friend who is also chronically ill. Also, therapy. Therapy has been extremely helpful for me to just get my feelings out and to be able to come to terms with things. So I think that that's a really good route to take as well. There are so many ways that you can cope with your chronic illness, and one thing that's helped me might sound kind of weird, but I wanted to talk about it anyway, and that is going to my college and being a guest speaker in an anatomy and physiology classroom. I go into the classroom and I talk to the students for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's usually during their lab session. And I tell them all about my heart and I teach them the heart at the same time. So they get to see a normal heart versus my heart, and I teach them about my diagnoses and how they affect me, and they're learning through the whole time. And at the end, they ask me so many great questions. And it really makes me feel like I'm taking something that's very negative and putting a positive spin on it for others. So, like taking my lemons and making them into lemonade. And it makes me feel better about being chronically ill, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something positive with something very negative. So, I just wanted to share that little piece because I know it probably doesn't apply to a lot of people, but it's something that's been helpful for me. So now let's get into how you can help a friend, family member, or loved one cope with a chronic illness. So I think the first step is when you find out that this person is chronically ill, it's a really good idea to just Google it. And I don't mean do a lot of research. I mean just really find out how it affects them, what it means, maybe what's going on within their body, what some of their symptoms are. And by doing this, you have a better understanding of what the person's going through. And I think you having that sort of understanding is a really good thing to have. And then so you know exactly what they're feeling and what they're going through. There are some certain things that you can say to someone that is chronically ill that are helpful things, and then there are things that you can say that are not helpful. So one of the worst things that you can say to someone who is chronically ill, in my opinion, is I feel really bad for you. Telling the person that you feel bad for them, it's really not helpful because personally, every time that people have told me that they feel bad for me, it doesn't make me feel good about myself or my current situation. If anything, it just makes me feel worse because now I feel bad that you feel bad. And it's just not a helpful statement, and I would avoid telling someone blatantly that you feel bad for them. You can feel bad for them, but I just wouldn't necessarily vocalize it. What is okay to say is that you can say that you are sorry that they're going through that, but you should always follow it up with support. So you can say, I'm sorry that you're going through that, but I'm here for you and I'm here if you need anything. And it's that support that you provide them that really helps them through this difficult situation. Because personally, I don't want you to feel bad for me, but I want you to empower me and I want you to push me forward. And I think that that's what they need the most, is your support, your love, and your encouragement. It's important to remind them of how strong they are and how proud you are of them. And it's just little things like that that really do help us feel better. Also, if they're feeling symptomatic, it's nice to be a source of distraction for them. Text them, FaceTime them, do whatever to kind of help them get their mind off the current situation. And if you feel comfortable, offer to have them vent to you, because you might not be able to say a lot in return, but sometimes for us, just getting it off of our chests alone makes us feel better. And so to have friends who are around to listen is definitely really helpful. I really hope that everyone was able to take away something from this video. I think one of the biggest pieces of advice, and it may sound lame, that I can offer to someone who is chronically ill is to truly take it day by day, because you don't know what the future holds. And so thinking about the future doesn't help you. Focus on today and not tomorrow, and get through today, and then we'll worry about getting through tomorrow. I hope I was able to provide you guys with some advice or some support, and just know that even if you feel alone, you are not alone. Reach out to your friends. If you have someone in your life that's chronically ill, reach out to them, check up on them, ask them how they're feeling every once in a while. Feel free to leave any comments or questions that you may have for me down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good one.